Have you ever wondered how computers are built? We use computers every day without ever thinking about how they are created. We are going to talk about the 7 key parts of a computer. First, we will talk about the more simple parts. The first part is the case, or the chassis. It houses all the parts of the computer and protects it from harmful substances like dust and dirt. Every case is different. Some can have 2 heat sinks, the parts that you put fans on. Some might have tempered glass and some might not. But generally, most cases look the same. Even though some can be different, but they all serve the same purpose, which is to protect the internal parts of the computer. The second part is the motherboard. People think it is very complex, but that isn't necessarily true. Some parts might be very confusing, like the PCIe slot, the slot where you put the GPU into. But the more you work with motherboards, the more comfortable you become. The motherboard is like the skeleton, I would say, because every part connects to the motherboard in some way. And it also says on the board where all the wires go, so it doesn't get confusing. The third is the power supply. The power supply is like the battery. You plug it into the wall and it distributes the electricity to the parts. Power supplies generally run best on 60% power. You may wonder if a PC needs only 300 watts of power, but the power supply is a 1000 watt power supply. Will it kill the parts? The answer is no, because power supplies only put out the needed power. So the 1000 watt power supply will only put out 300 watts because that's all. The next parts are more complex. The CPU, Central Processing Unit, is the brain of the computer. It works by making calculations based on low and high voltages, represented as ones and zeros, 1 being high and 0 being low. The speed is measured in gigahertz. The greater the gigahertz, the faster the CPU is. A CPU is made up of cores. These cores help the CPU run faster and faster. Let's say you want to do 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. A 1-core CPU would do 4 times 3, then 2 times 1, and then multiply the products. But a 2-core would do 4 times 3 and 2 times 1 at the same time, so it's much faster. Next, we will talk about the graphics card. The graphics card is the machine that makes the image on your monitor screen. The GPU, Graphics Processing Unit, gets signals from the CPU to put a pixel here and a pixel there. The better the GPU is, the better the graphics will be. There are also these tiny machines called transistors. The transistors are the machines that make the high and low voltages. So on GPUs, the more transistors you have, the faster the questions can be sent to the CPU. The next 2 parts are very similar, so I'll talk about them together. It is the hard drive and the RAM, random access memory. These 2 parts are the memory of the computer. The one key difference between these 2 parts is that the hard drive sacrifices speed for storage, and the RAM does the opposite. It sacrifices storage for speed. Think of it like playing a video game. When you start a level, it loads. That is all the information getting taken out of the hard drive and passed to the RAM. But when your video game character dies, then you can quickly start again because the memory is in the RAM. These are all the parts of the computer and what they do. So now that we have a basic understanding of a computer, let's build one. Okay, and just to prove that it might have not been clear with the time lapse, just to prove that the computer works. Do you hear that fan spinning? Do you hear that fan? Do you hear the fan? If you hear the fan, good. And light. Good. Turned on, good. In conclusion, we can see that at a very basic level, this is the way that computers are built. Of course, machines would be doing this job in a factory at a much faster rate, but this is how you would build your own custom PC.